What's up? It is Kral Space. I'm Kim Kral. Oh boy, I'm reporting to you live from inside of my closet. I'm not live. I don't know why I say that every week and I get like a little chuckle out of it, and I don't know if anybody else laughs at that. Oh man, you guys, I've had quite the week. I've had I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's Wednesday. I'm like way behind. It's like Wednesday, quarter to noon when I'm supposed to release this. And I was thinking on my like Instagram when I released it, I'd make up a lie about technical difficulties, but really I can't, guys, I can't lie. Speaking of liars, no, I've had a weird week just because, I have talked a few episodes about a guy that I was getting to know before the pandemic, and that he kind of ghosted me. It looks like I found out a few days ago that he had like a full-blown girlfriend while he was getting to know me, or was like dating a girl, like kind of really dating a girl, and then, you know, like emotionally cheating on her. I don't really know. It's so convoluted. It's just like, I just don't understand. Like I'm like preparing myself when I talk to his friends being like, hey, you know, because they'll be like this. It's so weird to me. Like, guys will be like, well, he wasn't your boyfriend. And it's like, you're right, fuckboy. You shouldn't have to treat me with general respect because you didn't make a committed relationship, like a commitment to me. I don't deserve general respect. Like, it's just like, oh God. And the red flags after red flags that like, I just like, I guess this episode, I promise it'll be funny. I just need to get this out. Cause I've been like, it was like such a gut punch. Cause like I do this thing where and I'm really actively working on it. And, I'm in like a 12-step program. Obviously not AA, cause you know, here we are, but yeah, I'm in a 12-step program to help me work through my childhood trauma stuff. And, one of the things I'm learning is that I tend to choose, I'm yelling. I don't know why I'm yelling. I tend to choose insecure relationships because they match those of my childhood home. And then I also tend to just like, I pick people who will abandon me, and then I justify all of these red flags so they won't abandon me. I mean, there were so many red flags with this dude. Like, he would disappear for a couple of days and he was going to this island, which turns out that's where that girl lives. I love, like, guys don't think we don't know. Like, now that we have to be, but we're fucking surgeons when it comes to like dissecting your social media. Like he the whole thing. And then he only wanted to communicate via WhatsApp. Oh man, I don't know if I'll be able to listen to this episode later on, just because like it's just like such a fucking gut punch. And then it's like he only wanted to communicate on WhatsApp, and then he also was like, I know that's a cheater's app, but I promise I'm not cheating on anyone while I do this. In my experience, when people like preface shit like that, I don't know why I wasn't like, that's kind of a weird thing for you to say. And then he would be like, oh, I'm on this island this weekend, so I don't have any service. And I'm like, well, we communicate via WhatsApp. That's why, because you said you didn't have any service in your apartment. Like, I also think he lived with his mom, but I was like too scared to ask that. Like, just so many red flags that I just like, and I'm looking back, like in this recovery program, I'm looking at all of my past relationships and how this is so vulnerable for me. So, hopefully there's something in here that someone relates to. It's not my normal. I promise I'll get to the pooping soon. But like in all my relationships, I pick these sketchy ass dudes who then I just justify this wild behavior. And like, luckily this guy, there was a lot of red flags, but like, at least he wasn't like a cocaine addict, you know, like the last one was like a full blown cocaine addict who just, oh God. Remember Jimmy the Dragon? I think I talked about him in episode 2. If you missed episode 2, I tell the wildest breakup story ever. So yeah, I'm learning in this, and I decided this before I found out that he had this full-blown girlfriend. Oh God, it's so gross. I like dry heaved in the toilet. Like, this guy was sending me dick pics after dick pics after dick pics, like all kind, you know what I like, and like they were solicited. Like we were sexting and shit, but like, just like that poor girl. Like, I just look at that shit and it's just like, oh, that poor girl. Oh, yeah, just such a gut punch, dude. And so many red flags. And like the living with his mom thing, I started to kind of suspect that, mostly because he took a picture of his place, and I was like, oh, is that your place? Because I hadn't seen it. And he goes, oh no, it's my mom's. And then like 4 days later, he took another picture. And then like a month later, there was another picture and they were all the same place. And I was like, oh. And then when he like, quote, asked for space because he needed to like figure out his own life, one of the things was his living situation. And I was like, oh, it's probably because he lives with his fucking mom. But yeah, I'm so mad. But yeah, it turns out he wanted to make sure I didn't leave, because like he would like make sure I didn't leave, but he could still pursue this other girl. But by saying like, oh, it's not you, I really want you in my life, I think there's a real relationship in the future, just like blah blah blah. It's just like I'm so upset because like give the person the dignity to make their own decision with all the facts like that. Like I just don't understand. I dated a guy last year who I slept around a ton, and then started like fucking his ex-girlfriend. And then when it all came to light, when it was like basically like forced him to tell me what was going on, his one like leg to stand on, which again I don't think is a leg to stand on, was you were never my girlfriend. And it's like, yeah, man, but we were spending literally every single day together. You spent the night at my house every night. I spent the night at your house every night. And then you'd go on. He was a comedian, so he'd go on the road. And then that's when he would like fuck these girls. And it just like, it's like, yeah, we never sat down and was like, hey, we're committed. But it's I don't know, man. It's not like I feel give the person the dignity to make their own choice. Like, look, I'm not going to commit to you. I would like to still see other people. I like your company and I don't want you out of my life, but like I am going to explore other relationships. And that's on their end, fear of because obviously like if this guy was like, oh, I started dating someone else, but I would really like to continue being friends or getting to know each other or whatever it is, I would be like deuces. So of course he like deuces. That's poop too. I don't know. But the cool part about this is like, I am handling this, I mean, not really a breakup because we weren't obviously together, but it, in my heart, like it is like a loss and it's a grief and it hurts a lot. And wow, I might cry right now, Jesus. But that's the thing, like I am allowing myself to feel my feelings. Like before and past breakups, it was like, I mean, the lockdown is helping the feelings, which blows, man. It fucking blows. Like you have that awful sinking feeling that you get. Oh man, I knew I was going to cry in here. Fuck. But that awful sinking feeling you get when someone dumps you or leaves you for someone else or whatever, just like the rejection feeling of just like, ugh. But like before it was like, all right, well, I'm going to go out and meet someone new or like drink a bunch or like party or, or I remember I broke up with this guy. He broke up with me like 7 years ago. Actually, I just found out, I think I've talked about Rob. Rob's having a baby. Wild, right? I'm friends with his wife on Facebook, and it's just so weird. Like, that's what I'm looking at this quote breakup as. Like, I know that on the other side of this, I will be okay. Like I was devastated over Rob. That was 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I don't know, almost a decade ago. I was devastated. And now I'm able to see that he's having a baby. And I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. I mean, like, I'm not going to congratulate them because that would be super weird since I have not spoken to either one of them in a better part of a decade. But like, it's just, I know on the other side of this. But I remember when Rob and I broke up, I was unemployed. So it's like kind of like it is right now. Like, I don't have a job. We're all on lockdown. And I didn't have a job. And instead of like focusing on my own shit, this is embarrassing to admit. And part of my podcast and soon to be radio show coming soon, I promise, I keep promising that, but it's in the works. It just means it's going to be so awesome when it finally airs. So much exciting news with that too. Part of this, what I want this to be is just like not only like funny and silly, but like, yeah, I want to be honest about stuff. And like, my hope is someone will hear how I'm feeling about this situation. Ooh, I'm going to cry again. I'm so fucking raw, guys. Hear how I feel about these situations and maybe feel less alone. Like that's what I've learned in my life about how honest, like painfully honest I am and how painfully open I am. I have met so many people that have been like, wow, you really helped me with that because I felt alone. So when I went through the Rob breakup, I was unemployed. And instead of focusing on my own shit or I was numbing out, probably a lot of drinking. I don't really remember that much, but I'm sure I was, 30 and in the height of my like party career. And I laid on the couch for 3 weeks and watched the entire series of Lost. That's like 8 seasons, like, and long seasons. And I just laid there, and it was so hot because it was summertime and my air conditioning wasn't working that well. And I just laid there and just like, they call it disassociation, where you just like leave your body because like the pain was so horrible. And Rob was like the first boyfriend I had once I had like entered recovery and entered like therapy programs to where I was actually like feeling my feelings. So it wasn't just Rob that I was feeling. It was like literally every boyfriend I had up into that point that I wasn't allowing myself to really process. So like, but like this go around, and yeah, this guy and I weren't again together. I'm going to stop saying that because I feel like it devalidates, unvalidates, disvalidates, whatever. It doesn't validate my feelings. And that's what's so important, like, for me, that like I'm leaning on people that validate how I feel, that aren't saying things like, because the guy lived in Seattle, like they're not saying things like, well, he lived in Seattle, you guys weren't together, like you guys never like there's no, all the people I am leaning on are people that are like, your feelings are valid, I'm so sorry. And then a lot of people are trying to do this thing, and I don't know, this go around, people, like, you know how your friends, I mean, this is a human thing, will try to justify someone's behavior, and not justify like it's okay he did it, but justify it to make you feel better. Like they're like, well, maybe he was too scared of what you guys had, so he like he looked for something else. And I believe that was part of it, because he did tell me that he was pretty sure he was gonna fuck it up. Well, congratulations, dude. You've been blocked on everything. I hope I never see you again or speak to you again. And I don't think he listens to these. If he does, cool. You're a douche. But I, like, what was I saying? Oh yeah, like tries to like justify his behavior. Like, oh, well, maybe he was seeing both of you, and then like the pandemic happened, and like he just locked down with her because you're so far away. And it's just, and I've told these friends, and I know that it's coming from this the most like loving place ever, but like I tell these friends that like, it doesn't matter. It does not matter what I'm going to focus on my side of the road this go around. Like, yeah, it hurts, and I could speculate all fucking day. But the bottom line is, the guy lied quite a bit to me, and I don't allow that kind of person in my life anymore. And that's the thing. As soon as I found out about this girl, I blocked him on everything, for like 2 reasons. One, the main one is, I know myself, and I know this is human, and maybe it's not, and maybe some of you are like, Jesus, Kim, this isn't like a normal crawl space, or you're judging me for how, whatever. I don't give a fuck. But like, I will obsess over his social media. Like, I will go on his social media and see if it changed. Maybe they broke up, or maybe she's not that pretty, or maybe she's this, or maybe she's that, or maybe I misread, or all of that bullshit that like, again, justifies this terrible behavior. And the bottom line is, like, I was like, I don't want to see that, and I don't want to be tempted to see that. And the blocking was just like, I don't want this person, because, by the way, they always come back. They always come back. I don't care if the girls probably always come back on the other side. Like, they always come back. Every single dude that has ever broken up with me or left me or ghosted me or any of that always comes back. And this one, I was just like, I don't, like I said with Jimmy the Dragon that I had talked about in that wild breakup, I don't know if he's come back. He did try and come back a couple of times, but then the last time he tried to come back, I was just like, I don't want a friendship. I don't want a relationship. Don't contact me anymore. And then I blocked and deleted his number. And like, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to give this guy a chance to come back. I don't care. I don't want to hear whatever the explanation is, or the probably like obligatory, like, you weren't my girlfriend, or like whatever. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. So I blocked him on everything. And then Instagram, I was like, well, maybe I'll just keep the follow because of my fucking narcissism, right? Like, I was like, I'll keep the follow, and then he'll get to see how well I'm doing. And then I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I don't want this human anywhere near me. And like that, and then that's the other thing. Like, I'm treating myself with like how okay, with my program, what we do is we didn't have loving parents. So like when I had like heartbreaks in high school, my dad would just tell me to get over it. Like, it was like, I remember one time, all my friends decided not to be my friend anymore. That was rough. That was a rough year. And they had their own shit going on, whatever. I talk to most of them now. It doesn't, who fucking cares, right? But at the time, I was like 16 and fucking devastated. And I had no friends. And I was depressed. And my dad's solution was to tell me to get over it. Tell me, why can't I make other friends? And then said, maybe you ought to just go live with your mother for a while. Like, that was like how, and so it's just like, that's how I was like taught to like deal with heartache, is just like, bury it. Oh God, move, do this. And like, this time I'm like, I'm allowing myself to cry. I'm not watching 12 hours of television to like disassociate, but I am like resting and like doing nice things for myself. Like, I bought a couple of plants and like potted those, and that was really fun. And then I'm crying, but I'm also doing my responsibilities. Yes, this podcast is coming out an hour late on the right day. It takes forever for it to show up on iTunes anyway, so I don't even think anybody notices it's at noon that I hit my deadline. But if you're going through a heartbreak or a breakup, or you're just, I don't know, just be so fucking nice to yourself. Like, I am staying away. Now I'm starting to burp. I am staying away from the self-talk of like, what did I do? Or like over analyzing every little last conversation we had. And maybe if I was just this enough, or maybe if I was prettier or funnier or smarter or willing to move to Seattle, or like bullshit. At the end of the day, this guy is a fuckboy. And I know that term is so, but it's so true. If you've used the term in your life, well, you were never my girlfriend. So I had a free pass to treat another human being the way however the fuck I wanted to treat him. I used to make fun of my buddy, if he goes out with like a girl a couple of times, he like needs to make sure that she knows that he's not interested. Like, I used to be like, well, it's only a date, whatever. But now I'm like, no, just be honest. Like, I have a girlfriend who was seeing two guys at the same time, not seeing them like they were like casually dating, and she was getting to know both of them, and she decided to date the other one. And she was like, well, I'm just like, whatever. We've only gone on a couple of dates and we've talked for like 2 weeks. I'm just going to ghost. And I was like, girl, like, that's mean. Like, that's just you not wanting to be confrontational. And like, it sucks. It would have sucked if that guy texted me, whenever he asked for space. If he was just like, hey, I met someone new. I want to explore this. It has nothing to do with you. Like, whatever you say, it would have hurt. Fuck, of course it would have hurt. But like, that would have been a couple of months ago, and I would have not, like, it would have given me the dignity to move on then, instead of like stringing me along of like, there is hope for a real relationship one day. And so I told her this, and she was like, you're right. I'm like, you don't have to like do a dramatic, like, oh my God. Like, you can just say, hey man, like, it was nice getting to know you. I met someone else. I really want to explore it. I wish you the best. And let that person decide if they want to obsess over you for the next 2 months. But like not giving them the information, I don't know, man. Just, okay. So I do this thing when I break up with people, or when I don't, like, people like purge their Facebook and Instagram and their phone and their computer of all pictures and evidence of these people, and delete it all. And with Rob was, no, is it Chris? Chris was years ago. Chris, I was like 22, wild. But yeah, I kept all of Chris's stuff. Like, it was like, at the time there wasn't like USB drives. There wasn't USB drives, so I printed all the pictures. So I have this Chris box in my closet, but I put all the pictures on a USB drive, and just because, and I'm glad I did, like, so I put all this guy's photos on this USB drive last night, and also the last guy, because I had forgotten to do that, and I just put it there and then deleted them from all of my electronics. And I'm glad I do that, because I was able to, like, I have just this one USB drive that has, like, it's like the ex-boyfriend files. It's not that organized. It's literally like you just click, like, it's a lot of, it's bananas. When I was looking, I was like, Jesus Christ. But it's like and I looked at pictures of Rob last night, and I was just like, oh man. And then I saw that he was having a baby, and it was just like how full circle the world goes. Like, this guy, I never thought in a million years I could like look at pictures of him, smile about the time we had, about all the growth I had because of that relationship, and then be genuinely happy that he's happy in his life. Like, if you would have told me that 7 years ago when I was watching Lost on the couch, numbing out, just praying this awful sinking heartbreak would go away, I would spit in your face. That's not true. I don't think I would ever spit in someone's face, but I would be like, never, I will never not feel. So like, and now I look at that, and that's where my hope with this guy. Like, I do wish him, I mean, where I'm at right now is I'm just like, fuck that liar, right? But I don't know. You never know what people are going through. And I do know that this whole thing has nothing to do with me. So it doesn't make me any less magical than I was before. And it's his loss. And also the guy told me he was going to ruin it. So that's another lesson, friends. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. He also used to say this thing a lot that like my buddy says too. My buddy would say, and he'd always say it right out there in recovery, they're in AA, and they would always say, and I'm not outing them because I've never said their names, but they, like, my buddy would like lie to someone in front of me, and then we'd leave, and he goes, I feel really bad about that. I don't lie. AA doesn't allow me to lie. And he would do that all the time. I'm like, you lie constantly. Also, you're human. Humans lie. We lie. I've probably told 3 lies today, and they're probably not anything other than like, oh, I can't meet on a Zoom at 2 because I'm so busy, when really I just want to clean my kitchen, right? Like we lie, we're humans, we lie all the time. But that's what this guy would say too. He would tell me about a lie he would tell and then say he doesn't lie because of AA. And I didn't ever think like, well, you just lied, man. You literally just lied. But yeah, so I pulled out, so I have this box, actually it's this trunk that I'm sitting on in my closet. And it's full of all my journals. Dude, what do you guys do with your journals? Am I the only one that has like 48,000 journals? And I don't want to get rid of them. Like, so every couple of years, I'm like, I should burn them and like cleanse myself. But then I'll open up a random page and it's just like, it's so cool to see where I was at. You know what I mean? Like, and so I found, I usually write a letter to an ex right after we break up. And I'm glad I do it, but I don't know how helpful it is at the time, because it's never a letter of like goodbye. It's always a letter of like how we could work this out and why did you leave me? But I read the letter I wrote to Jimmy the Dragon. God, it was 2 years ago around this time, and it was just, I want to hug that girl because she took so much blame for this drug addict. Like, just took on all of his like character defects and all of the shit he put her through, and like, and all the shit I was going through at the time. Like Jimmy, I needed Jimmy the Dragon in order to get where I am now. Like, that was such a significant, that got me into the 12-step recovery and like has gotten me to look at all of my childhood shit and have the confidence of making these podcasts and actually like being vulnerable on here. I cried on this podcast already. Jesus. I mean, I'm raw right now, guys. It's just gonna hurt for a little bit of time, you know? But then, I read the James letter, and then I read, okay, so my first love, Adam Black, I'll say his name. I mean, like, he knows who he is. He knows about what I'm about to tell you, and all of the people in my life know who he is. Adam and I met freshman year of college, and it was just like this dramatic, on and off again, 10-year relationship. And man, I loved him. Oh my God, I loved him. And he loved me too. And we met a lot to each other. We met a lot to each other. Like, oh God, I didn't think I was going to tell this story, but I for sure am. But we eventually it ended. Adam was like, move home. I love you. And, he was like, I'd marry you if you move home. And I was like, man, we're too different, you know? Like, it was just like, my head's in the clouds. Well, he had always had a vacuum cleaner and a label maker. And I was like, we're so different. Like, you vacuum your home every day and you have a label maker. And I, keep my deodorant in a pizza box that I sleep with. Like, we're so fucking different. And he was just like, I'll follow you around the rest of your life with a vacuum cleaner. And I said no. And then we didn't speak for 6 months or so. And in that time, he met his now wife, and he has 2 kids. And he and I probably talk once a year around our birthdays. Or when I go home for Christmas, we'll have lunch. And it's fucking lovely because there's, there's so much history there, but there's just like a lot of love. And so I wrote Adam a letter. I wonder, I'll tell him to listen to this episode because he's been dying to read this letter for 10 years. Because we were like 18 and I wrote this letter in 2005. So how long? So 15 years. No, I don't think I told him about the letter until like 10 years ago. And there's like a full-blown box with artwork, guys. Oh God, there's artwork. And most of it is like, oh God, it's like a lot of broken hearts. And then I was looking at it last night and I was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, like, I'm glad I keep things like that because it's so fucking lovely and it's so sweet. And like, I was so dramatic. Like the morning I met Adam Black. Oh God, I can't believe I'm telling you this. I say that all the time. I can't believe I'm telling you this. Whatever. I don't know if no, this has got to be a new embarrassment. And I've told you about me pooping my pants a lot. This is so much more embarrassing because it's vulnerable and icky. But the morning I met Adam Black, freshman year of college, Britney Spears is Oops, I Did It Again CD had just come out like that summer or some shit. And that's how old I am. And there's a song, it's the last track called Dear Diary. And it's like, Dear Diary, today I met a boy. It's just about like, I flew so high. It's so bad. But I met Adam, and then I the next day I woke up and I wrote that in my journal, and I found because I was looking in this trunk I'm sitting on last night, and I was looking at that, and I was just like, Dear Diary, and I wrote the whole Britney Spears song, the whole thing, guys, it was only like 8 paragraphs, but still, and I remember it vivid as day, like it was yesterday. I remember waking up and being like, oh, I'm going to write this. And I wrote it. And I was like, I met this guy and I don't think anything's going to happen. But like, as soon as I met him, my whole, like it was one of the first times I ever felt like real butterflies. Oh man, I loved that guy. And, oh God, I remember I was driving, I was going to tell you this story. Well, I was driving from Colorado or from LA to back from Denver to LA with my friend Jenny. And I told her a little bit about Adam. And Adam and I were like, we had on and off periods where we'd talk all the time when I was in LA. And then we wouldn't talk at all for like a year, right? And and so I made this CD on Napster on my sophomore year of college, Napster. And I'm playing it for her. And I was like, this is the CD I wrote for Adam, or I like made for Adam and how I feel about our relationship. And I put it in the CD player. And then by song 5, when it was Usher's You Got It Bad, she stops it. To be fair, guys, I was like 23. And when I made it, I was like 19. She stops it and looks at me and she goes, what the fuck did this guy do to you? And oh man, I think I still have that CD somewhere. So fucking great. Once I told Adam I had this box and this letter and all these songs. Yes, I wrote songs and poems for him. Oh my God. He's like, I think you need to give me that. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I feel like when I die, I'll make sure it's in my will that Adam gets this stupid box. Cause like, it's just, it's just like an emo teenager. Just like, I was so young. But I was in I was in LA. I was in LA. I was like probably 26 or something like that. And I was visiting Denver, and I did this thing where, like when you move away and you go back to your hometown, it's just like so exhausting because everyone wants to see you, which is awesome. But it's just like you don't sleep. It's just like, oh, I got to go here. And then and I always do this thing where I'm like, I make like 6 plans in a day. But then once I get to my first plans, I'm having fun. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to stay here. But so this one time I put out like a Facebook invite and was like, hey, anybody who wants to meet me, I'm going to be, or see me while I'm home, I'm going to be at this bar at this time, and we'll just have like a big fun night. Like if you can't make it, no hard feelings, but you can't be upset if I can't make it to you either. Like that was the most brilliant thing I'd ever done. But this dude shows up from my high school, this guy that we weren't really, like, we said hi, I guess we knew each other, but he was like super duper popular. Like he was like the high school quarterback, like he was like smoking hot, like school president, I don't know, he did all that shit, right? And I was just like the nerd with like missing teeth. But like so he shows up and I was like, oh wow. So we all have a fun night, he and I drink a bunch, and then I go back to his place, and like 16-year-old Kim is like, woo! But like we start kissing, and he takes off his clothes. I think I'm fully clothed at this point because I don't think I ever took off my clothes, but he's pretty naked. And then he's kissing me, and he leans back, looks me dead in the eye, and he goes, I'm a biter. And then he bites, like, I swear to God, like a chunk out of my shoulder. And I was like, ah! He's like, you didn't like that. And I was like, I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Like, I'm not ready for this, or whatever you say, because I was just like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. I mean, and at that time, I think I had sex with like 2 people, and I already didn't enjoy sex at that time. So I was like, I'm not going to put another dick inside of me. It's not going to be fun. And this guy seems like he's going to bite me the whole time. So I'm not interested in that. And so we go to bed, and this is, again, the high school heartthrob. He's naked. He has his whole body wrapped around me. He's snoring like a banshee. And the only time the snore stops, he'll stop snoring and let out the loudest fart. Like, just like, he's like, I can't snore because I'm like, yeah, I guess I can. And then it'd stop, and he'd be like, I guess I can't. Wait, I can do a fart. Like, loud like that. I can't believe I just did that. I spit all over myself. And like, I'm like laying there, and I don't know Denver that well at the time. I don't have a car. There's not Uber or Lyft. So I'm just like stuck at this guy's house. And I was just like, oh my God, let the morning come, let the morning come. So then the morning comes, and he is, walking around his apartment like naked, and like every now and then he would be like, remember this? And then he'd pull out his yearbook from high school. Like, I know where my yearbooks are, but they're not readily available for anyone who wants to see. Like, you peaked in high school when I have a friend who was just telling me the other day that her ex-boyfriend played her when he was like on a VHS tape, the lead in a play he was in high school. And she's like, oh, it's cute. And then she thought he'd turn it off. He made her watch the 2-hour play while he talked about all the girls who liked him then. If you have that shit readily available, I hate to break it to you, you peaked in high school, man. Or you got to find some hobbies or something that makes you worthy of life now. Because Jesus. So he kept pulling out his yearbook. And no, I don't know if I offended anyone, but like, maybe take a hard look. So he pulls out his yearbook, I'm going to say 3 or 4 times in that morning while it took him forever to get ready. And he'd be like, remember this? And then he'd open the yearbook to like a page that he had like accomplished something and throw it on the bed and be like, that was a pretty good time, huh? And I'm like, oh God. And he's naked the whole time. I'm like, get dressed. What's happening? We didn't fuck. We're not together. What's happening? Why are you so comfortable? Get dressed. And it's not like, I mean, he wasn't bad looking naked, but it wasn't like, holy shit, the guy, like, he wasn't like Ryan Gosling naked. He was just like a dude naked. And I was like, what are you doing? I want to get out of here. So then he drives me, I think, to my cousin's house or whatever. And so that night I go out and meet Adam. Adam from, this is where this whole story had started. I go out and meet Adam at like some bowling alley in Littleton. And this guy, high school heartthrob, lives in Denver. So it's A, blizzarding outside, and B, that drive from like Denver to Littleton is like, I don't know, I say LA ways, but like I'm trying to figure out, it's a good 30-minute drive, no traffic, no blizzard. So like he had to, so he texts me and he's like, what are you up to tonight? And I was like, oh, I'm meeting some friends at this bowling alley in Littleton. And he goes, oh, bowling? What bowling alley? And I didn't think, saying it out loud now, I'm like, of course he would have fucking shown up. But I didn't think like we had a great time the night before. Like, I didn't know why he was even, but like, I was like, oh, it's this bowling alley or whatever. So then like I'm like, all right, well, I put down my phone and I start talking to Adam, and I tell Adam the whole story, and Adam and I are laughing, and Adam and I always had a awesome like that guy and I could talk for hours, and we're laughing, we're talking, we're whatever, right? And as I'm in the middle of some other sentence, in walks fucking high school heartthrob. And I'm like, oh God, Adam, high school heartthrob is here. He's like, what? I'm like, high school fucking heartthrob is here. And he turns around and sees him. And Adam has like a girlfriend at this time. So like, not the girlfriend's not there, but like, I know he's in a relationship. We're only there to like, we're old friends. Yeah, we were in love at one point, or we fell in love later again. I don't know. There was a time that I could tell you every single date and moment of the Adam and Kim story, but now I'm old and it's in the past, right? Which is cool. But, we were still friends. So I was like, oh, he goes, well, how did he know where you were at? And I was like, I told him. He's like, why the fuck would you tell him? I'm like, well, I didn't think he'd show up. He lives in Denver. It's blizzarding outside. Why the fuck would he get in his car at like 9 o'clock on a Friday night and drive here? He's like, why do you fucking think? And Adam used to always get mad at me because he's like, you'd be talking. Like, he's like, you're always talking to like a group of like dudes and you're like laughing and flirting, but you don't know you're laughing and flirting. You're just being you, but they're all like, I love this girl. And he's like, and he never would get mad at me. He was just always like, you're fucking, you never know that these guys are just like, he's like, of course this guy's gonna come here. You told him where you're at and you spent the night with him last night. And I was like, oh man. So we all start playing pool, but then I almost said his name. I'll say Adam's name because I'll tell Adam all about this, and whatever. But this guy I don't talk to. Who cares why? We'll out some people who won't. High school heartthrob kind of is getting increasingly angry because Adam and I, we were in love. So we were flirty and we were like, we had a connection and a friendship. So we were being flirty and laughing and whatever. And like, he kind of imposed on our night out. I don't know, where are you at? Like, would be, I would like to come bowling. You know what I mean? Like some kind of heads up. I still think he's weird for showing up, but I don't know. Adam didn't agree with me. He's like, of course the guy would fucking show up. So the high school heartthrob starts getting madder and madder. And then he's like, he has a fucking girlfriend, right? You told me he had a girlfriend. Like, why are you guys all flirting? And I was 26, so I didn't handle it the best way. I just left. I went to the bathroom. I was just like, I can't fucking deal with this. So I go to the bathroom and I'm like fixing makeup or whatever. And I come back and he's gone. And I'm like, what did you do? Adam's like, well, I got rid of him. I'm like, what did you say? He goes, I was honest. I was like, and this is like the sweetest thing he's ever said, not ever said to me, but it was like one of the sweetest things. He goes, I said, look, man, I understand where you're coming from. I too have been in love with Kim Kral, but at the end of the day, she lives in LA and she's not coming back. So I think it's better if you just go right now, and got rid of him. I don't know what made me tell. Oh yeah, because I got ghosted and then lied to. Oh man. So I read the letter I wrote to Adam. I wrote it in 2005. I read it last night and I was just like, Jesus, I cannot tell you how much Christina Aguilera I quoted in this letter. I couldn't stop laughing. I thought about reading it in here, but some of it is a little sad and some of it is that's probably way too vulnerable. Maybe I will at some point. Or if I get enough requests, if enough of you DM me and tell me you want me to read the Adam Black letter, I will. But I feel like Adam should be able to read that letter first. I'm sure he when we talk, he's like, oh yeah, send me that box. And I'm like, what are you gonna tell your family? You're like, yeah, this girl in college that we were our first love made this weird box when we broke up that she colored and wrote, oh God, so many heartbreak pictures where I drew a broken heart and wrote things like the date we met, and then things like, I loved him and sometimes he loved me too. I didn't even have drugs to blame on all of this. There was no drugs or a lot of drinking in those days. It was just me at 2 p.m. just emoing out over fucking Adam. Jesus Christ. And then I also wrote poems, and all of them, one of the poems is 3 pages typed. It's not the full page, but it's half down the center, vertical. So it's 3, you know what I mean? So it's halfway vertical. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but every 4th line in all capital letters, it says lies, lies, lies. Oh man, I had a really good, and I'm pretty positive, I had a great laugh about that last night. I'm pretty positive I lived in a studio in Westwood when this whole thing was going on. And I'm pretty positive I wrote lies, lies, lies while on the toilet. Oh man, while on the toilet. That is so, and so that's why I save all these things, because it also it's fun to look at years later and just unwrap and nostalgia and just where you were, where you are now. And also it's a nice reminder in these moments where I am really sad and really heartbroken, that I got through, that saga, or I got through that James breakup, or, you know what I mean? It shows that you are resilient and you're going to be okay. And I know that. And if you're out there and you're dealing with a heartbreak, especially in this lockdown, dude, I don't know. I look at it as a blessing. This is, I'm glad I'm getting heartbroken in a lockdown. Yeah, it makes it much more painful, and it's probably it's probably lasting a lot longer than it would have in the real world, but it's forcing me to really feel my feelings and grieve it. So that way I can fully move on and let go of it for the next guy who, this lying dude was one of the best ones so far. So the next one's going to be awesome. Oh man, I'm going to take a hard left turn. I feel like I've been talking about, I am so hot. Every single time, I can't breathe after a little while in here. I'm oh, I'm so sweaty, but, I can't believe last time, I was thinking about this morning, last episode, if you didn't listen to it, last episode I stopped because I was going to poop my pants. Anybody else having a wild pooping problem in quarantine? I I never pooped before. It was like an all or nothing thing. Like I either like didn't poop for like days and days, and then it was just like I couldn't stop pooping. And that's when Sharding Outside the Improv happened. Like, but in this, I'm pooping all the time, but it's like sometimes it's nice poop, sometimes it's like, oh man, this sucks. Oh, which leads me to today's poop scoop. So I think, okay, I remember when I was in college, after the whole incident with Jenny and Kristen, when like I told them I always pooped at Target, we like studied like the next year in my apartment. It was like my best friend Amy and then Jenny and I were studying, and I think Sarah was there. Sarah was my roommate in college, and we were talking about like poop stories, or no, we were talking about plugging the toilet stories and like embarrassing poop stories, and I had double their all combined. And they were like, no wonder you're so scared of pooping places. Like, you've had some trauma, dude. So this week's poop scoop, it goes back to when I was in, oh my God, my nose is like running too. I think it was from trying to snore and then making that big loud fart noise. But I was in 6th grade. And this is where some of the like trauma happened. Not trauma like abuse, but like trauma where it's like, of course you're freaked out, but like you've had like horribly embarrassing. Okay, so when I was in 6th grade, my best friend was in 5th grade, and Julie Garego, and who knows where that broad is now, right? She's my neighbor. And like when we were younger, she wasn't very popular like me. But then once she got to 5th grade and I got to 6th grade, she started hanging out with the really popular girls. And I think I went to 7th grade because we went to different schools at this point. So when Julie got to 6th grade, she got very popular. And then when I was in 7th grade, so I didn't know any of these girls. And so Julie had a slumber party for her birthday like she did every year. And every year it was the same. Like I was the older one and I didn't really know anybody, but I always had fun because, she was nerdy before that. Well, this time she was really popular and these girls did whatever really popular girls do. You like sneak out back and like smoke or like go steal shit. I don't remember, but I do remember in the middle of the night, I woke up and I had to poop really bad. Everyone was asleep. So I go poop and I go back to bed, right? No big deal. I've pooped in that bathroom a million times. I was best friends with Julie. Not a big deal. I wake up in the morning to those little 6th graders all standing around me, whisper out loud, like, she needs to wake up. Like, yeah, it absolutely was her. Of course it was her. It wasn't me. Of course it wasn't you. Yuck. It wasn't any of us. It was her. And I opened my eyes and I was like, what's going on? They're like, did you shit and plug the toilet? Because it's like flooded now. And I was like, oh God. And those days I was pretty good at like thinking on my feet because a lot of that shit always happened to me, no pun intended. And I was like, oh God. I was like, no, I didn't poop last night. I was like, I did wake up in the middle because like one girl was like, I heard you get up in the middle of the night. I was like, well, yeah, I got up and peed, but I didn't poop. I was like, Julie has a brother. He probably did it. And everyone's like, oh yeah, he probably did do it. I was like, I wouldn't do that. Gross. I would poop in my own home. I wouldn't do it here. And then I was like, but Julie, I'll help you clean it up. And Julie's like, okay, thanks. So we go into the bathroom and we're cleaning it up. This is such a small poop scoop story, and we're cleaning it up. And I was just like, I have to tell you something. And she goes, yeah, I know it was you. I was like, how did you know? She goes, because obviously it was you. Like, because at that point, I'd always been doing some embarrassing shit. So I think but I mean, God bless Julie's soul. She didn't walk out and be like, she like kept my secret. I mean, who knows if she told those broads behind my back, if like, she's like, yeah, that bitch actually did poop. But that poop scoop story isn't. I would like to hear your poop scoop stories. I would like to hear yours because, well, I'm not running out of any, but I don't know. I really enjoy hearing random people's poop stories. I also, to be fair, haven't checked my DMs for quite some time. So if you've been DMing me, I will check them probably today or tomorrow. They just get so overwhelming. Anyone else? So I wanted to tell this story. It came up like I said, I'm like working through like past relationships and all this stuff and like my patterns. And good news is a lot of my one of my big patterns is once I start to get a little self-value, these toxic people just sort of fuck off. Like the guy in Seattle, like once I started asking for I didn't know he had like a full-blown girl on the side, or I guess I was the side one. But as soon as I started asking questions, he sort of fucked off. So good news is once you start getting a little bit of self-worth and then more self-worth and then you start really loving yourself, because that's where I'm at now, guys. Like I recommend working on loving yourself. It is rad. I am so sad right now. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the one lucky broad before I end this with the story. I am one lucky broad because I have entered into a group therapy situation, if you're not familiar with 12 steps, that has allowed me to learn and love myself. Like, it is so fucking awesome to be like, I'm a one lucky broad because I'm in this heartbreak. Like, I am so heartbroken and I feel like a gut punch. I feel lied to. I feel deceived. I feel gross. This dude has naked photos of me, like all of the nine, right? And I do keep thinking that one day when I'm famous, this guy will be able to make money off of my nude photos and then I can sue him. But that's just my revenge brain. But I'm one lucky broad because it's awesome. Like, normal heartbreaks, I would be so down on myself and be like, well, if I change this, maybe someone will love me. And I'm like, no, I'm fucking rad. I'm awesome. So I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but I posted a photo of me giving the bird, and I think you all should just give the fucking peripheral, I can't say that word. I can type it. Bird, the figurative bird, to all the toxic people in your life. And love yourself because you're fucking magical. And like, yeah, I'm really sad right now, but I am so in love with myself that I'm like, man, I can't wait to meet the guy. Like, whatever guy gets to be in your life, what a lucky dude, huh? Because I am awesome. So I have been looking at past relationships and I totally forgot about this story. And it's probably going to be today's title of this episode. And, oh man, the masturbating lawyer. We're going to take a left turn. And this, God, I didn't do too much confirmation either. Too much confirmation. Wow, guys, I haven't done anything particularly gross in the last couple of days. That's kind of weird. Showered, brushed my teeth. I brush my teeth all the time. I don't understand people who aren't brushing their teeth in quarantine. Don't brush your teeth for other people. My breath bums me out if it's bad. Maybe that's some too much. I feel like just every episode is just too much confirmation. Every single episode. I mean, I guess too much confirmation was telling you about the poems I used to write. Lies, lies, lies. If I ever get a Patreon, if you ever want to see those, then you'll have to pay me. Like, that's the thing. You'd have to pay me to see those poems because they're so embarrassing. They're so embarrassing. And the letter to Adam is like, this song, Christina Aguilera, Fighter. I quoted most of that, but like reworded it a little bit so it wasn't like straight plagiarism, or that I didn't have to like quote it. But it was like, at one point I wrote, you cashed in on a good thing for a really good time before I realized your game. Oh, so embarrassing. But whatever. I was 22. So, I dated this guy, the masturbating lawyer. You ready for this fucking story? So let me preface this story. This is also the first joke I ever wrote. I don't have pants on today, so I'm like stuck to this trunk. The first joke I ever wrote too. And let me warn you, this is pre-Me Too era, and this is definitely like a Louis C.K. thing. So like when I told the joke back in the day, it like killed on stage. Now I try and tell it and people are like, oh, you poor girl. So I'm fine. This guy is like, whatever. This guy is, so I met this dude. And we started date. Like, I met him when I was working at Big Wang's, which is that sports bar I talk about sometimes. And I met him at a night where a girlfriend of mine was having a pub crawl party, and he was invited to the pub crawl party. And then we really hit it off, right? But that night, half of the bartenders or servers got fired because, like, I don't know, some girl like clocked everyone in. I don't remember what the story was. All I know is that everyone got fired except for me and like 3 girls. So we had to work all the time until they hired new people. So I met this guy that I really liked, but he was a lawyer. And so we kept opposite schedules. So for like 2 weeks, our schedule was, I would go over there at 2 a.m. He'd wake up, we'd hang out for like an hour until like 3, and then we'd sleep until like 7, and then we'd hang out until 8, and then he'd go to work, and then I would go back to bed, and then I'd go to work, and we repeated that for like 2 weeks. And it was great, and I was so smitten, and I liked him so much. But at the time, I think I was like 27. I hadn't had sex with that many people, and like, we never had sex. Like, that's really important for the story. We had made out and like maybe a little bit of like hand touch. Like, I think he went down on me once. I don't remember. I think he was just like, I can prove that I'm really good at it. I hate it when guys do that. Every guy thinks they're good at eating pussy. It's 100%, you're all not. So, if you constantly brag about how good you are at it, chances are you're probably not that great. Because the guys that I do know that like have nailed it in my life didn't have to go around and tell every new person that they met that they were good at eating pussy. Just saying. And if 100% of you say that you're good at it and not 100% of people who've had it done to them have come from it, there's a little bit of discrepancy in the number. Anyway, he was like, I'm really good at it. So he didn't make me come, by the way. So we hadn't had sex. We barely fooled around. And one afternoon I went over to his place and I was just like, oh, today's not the day we're going to have sex. And I'm glad. I've always had this internal like alarm bell that's been like, don't have sex with someone who's unsafe. Like, not always, I mean, but I've had some pretty shitty boyfriends, but I mean, like, the random one night stands, or like I don't know, something about the lawyer was like, just, it didn't feel right. And so I wasn't having sex with him. And it was also like, I was like, we should go on some dates, like, instead of like spending 2 hours at 3 a.m. I don't know, man. I mean, kind of looking back on it, I would have had sex with him now. We had a good time. We really liked each other. And that was really the only time we had to spend together. And the fact that he was making that time and I was making that time, whatever, bygones. It was 10 years ago. But so one afternoon I go over to his place and he's like, and I was like, today's not going to be the day we have sex. And the joke I wrote, I was like, I'm on my period. And I think I did tell him that. And back in those days, it was like, by the way, guys, when a girl tells you when she's on her period, 99% of the time, she just doesn't want to have sex with you. Like, now most guys are cool with period sex. Rob, who I talked about earlier in this episode, he hated it. Like, one time he like freaked out because my period just randomly started while we were having sex, and he like thought I did it on purpose. I'm like, yeah, there's like a button that we push and then it just happens. Whatever. That's another. But I was like, oh, but really that day I just had like a massive bush that I didn't want to deal with. And I was like, oh, the first time this lawyer and I have sex, I'd like to be like pristine, right? And now I also know you guys don't give a fuck about that either. That was more for me. So we're sitting on the couch and we're talking, and he's like, it's cool. We don't have sex yet. I'm cool with waiting. So I don't understand why this guy just take me to dinner. Like, that's all it would have taken. Not like that's all it takes for me to get in my pants. Don't DM me that. But like, we had been dating seeing each other for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I was just like, I just want to have a date, like a real date, before we have sex. Like, I just want to have that. And oh wow, boundaries, huh? And standards. So I think like we're laying on the couch, and I think I like brush my hand against his leg. I know we're sitting on the couch, and I brush my hand against his leg, and he's like, oh my God, I'm so horny. We have to have sex right now. And I was like, dude, calm down, right? And he's like, you're right. All right, I'll stop. And I was like, okay. So then we continue talking, and then he's like, I gotta stop you. I need to take care of this. And then he drops his pants, and he just starts masturbating. And like, it was so weird. Like, looking back on it now, like, it was so weird. And it wasn't like, I've done the thing where like we mutually masturbate or whatever. Like, I start masturbating. You know what I mean? Like, I've done the like where it's sexy, but it wasn't. This guy was just full blown jerking off on his couch. And like, my self-esteem wasn't super high in those days, as I'm sure you've probably gathered from a lot of my old stories. Like, Kim now would have just been like, I'm going to go. This is fucking weird. But I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of watched TV and played on my phone while he just masturbated. And it's funny, I asked all of my girlfriends after that, and they were like, I would have left. And I was like, oh, I stayed through the whole thing. And he's like just going to town, right? Like, really like, oh God, so awful. Why? This guy used to also send me, I call him the flat Stanley of dicks, because he would send me so many dick pics, even after we stopped dating, or whatever you want to call that. He would send me dick pics from like his erect penis from all over his house, or like the like gnomes that you see pictures of, like national monuments all over the world. His dick was that way, but like with his house. So it was like, here's my hard dick in my bathroom. Here's my hard dick in front of my Van Gogh painting, like that kind of. So he like masturbates and then he finishes. And then he like cleans himself up and he comes back and sits down. And I was like, oh, dude, that was really weird. And he's like, nah, you're fine. What? No, that was really fucking weird. The fact that he had zero shame about that. And then he goes and excuses himself so he can puke. Now, I'll tell you the real story. My joke at the time was that he came back from puking, and he like heaves, and my punchline was he'd go, sorry, I always puke after I do that, which is hilarious, and that's much funnier. But like, he came back and was just like heaving, and like he never explained why he threw up. I think he came back from Vegas or some shit. He was like hungover, but like he's just like laying on the floor in the fetal position, like just like after puking and masturbating in front of me, and he's like, finally I was like, I think I'm going to take off. And God bless that young girl back then. Like, I remember being so uncomfortable and being like, when can I leave? I hate this. And he's like, I'm sorry it wasn't more fun this afternoon. And then he ended it with me, right? Like, I can't remember exactly. He like text messaged me and said something like I wasn't what he was looking for. And there's probably 1,000 things that we can like unravel with that. Like his, maybe I never had sex with him, or maybe he was embarrassed for jerking off in front of me. Like, who knows, right? But cut to like he and I are like, he's married with kids, and like he and I friends on Facebook. We've like kept in touch over the years. I've referred clients to him and all that stuff. And I mean, the ending of that was really devastating for me. I really liked him. I mean, even after the masturbating thing, which goes to show my taste in men at the time. I'm working on it. Don't worry. But so I got one of those red light tickets where you run a red light or whatever, but I was like turning right on red, and so I wanted to fight it. So I called him, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. I'll go to court with you. And at the time, I don't know where he lives now, but at the time he lived on an island off of Long Beach. And so he's like, well, the courthouse is right next to that in Santa Monica. And I lived in like Hollywood. And he was like, so why don't you just come down to my new house? You can see my new house, and you can and you can just spend the night, and then we'll go to the courthouse. And I didn't think much of it because it was such a weird night, dude. I didn't think much of it because I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, and this guy and I hadn't really seen each other in years. We never had sex. We didn't have some epic love to where that night was going to be like a rekindling. Like, there was I just assumed I'd go to his house, we'd catch up, go to bed, wake up, whatever, right? So we go to his house. He gives me the tour. It's beautiful. He did this like massive lawsuit where he became like a millionaire from it. So he bought this beautiful home. And so we're looking at the house. He gets me a beer. We go upstairs to like his like, room where it has the TV, whatever that's called. Romper room. Who cares? We start, and he's like, and I just started comedy, and he goes, so how's comedy going? And I was like, oh, it's going all right. I'm performing a lot. And he goes, well, what do you talk about? And I was like, oh, cards on the table? About that time you masturbated in front of me and puked. And I've never seen someone's face changed from like excited of the potential of the night of like sex to just like, oh. And he had such an ego. He's like, you tell that on stage? I'm like, oh yeah, it's a real crowd pleaser. People laugh quite a bit about it. But what was weird is he had several bedrooms in this like fucking mansion. And we went and slept in his room. Like he like put my suitcase, and I like, again, Kim now would be like, Kim now wouldn't have been in that situation, but like we slept like an old weird married couple where there was like this like invisible barrier below in between us. And then we showered, we went to the court. He didn't get me out of the ticket because the cop showed up, and I for sure ran that red light. But like, oh man, masturbating lawyer. This episode was sort of like a whirlwind. I'm glad I got to get a little vulnerable. That's my hope, is to, say a lot of honest shit in this podcast and the radio show. The radio show is coming soon, I promise. It's just, we want to get it perfect for live. And it's going to have a bunch more segments. It's going to have all that. But in the meantime, I'm still going to be recording in my closet, bringing you a new episode every Wednesday. I am an hour late today. You probably won't even notice because some people don't usually download podcasts a second it's up. But, yeah, I send love to everybody out there who is, dealing with a heartbreak. It's especially in this lockdown and strange times. It really hurts. And to the lying dude who has a full-blown girlfriend, I wish you the best, man. Honestly, like, I hope to never hear or see you again. I hope to never hear of you. I hope that you are erased from my memory. But I am so grateful. I am going to do it again. I am one lucky broad for all the lessons this mini relationship taught me. And all the self-love I've learned to have, because this heartbreak is, I'm telling you, a different camp. It's night and day from my last one. My last one, I was down for the count. And this one is just like, oh, I'm heartbroken and that sucks, but I'm going to still keep moving. And for all of you out there who's dealing with any kind of grief, which I know a lot of us are, with all the humans that are dying, I'm sure way bigger grief than some douchebag ghosting me, obviously. I don't know, I send you a lot of love. And I'm Kim Kral. You can follow me on all the socials, KYMKRAL. I think I'm going to get some theme music to this thing because I hear it's weird that I just pop in and say hi. But maybe I'll just keep it that way and this thing will blow up and then I'll be like, yeah, I just have it pop in and say hi. Who knows? I might add music next week. But yeah, a new episode every Wednesday comes out of Crawl Space. Follow me on all the socials. DM me your poop stories, your I'm one lucky broad stories, your too much information stories. I am going to start a new segment about all the crazy jobs I've had, and I would love to hear your worst jobs ever. I was on 20 reality shows, so maybe I'll talk about that next week. And then soon coming to a radio station near you, Crawl Space Live will be on Marcus King Presents Dash Comedy Radio. So many exciting things in the works, and thanks for listening. Bye.